Your market news now. Global stocks hobbled towards their worst month since February, with sentiment hurt by China's factory readings. Traders await European and US data that could add to bets that interest rates have peaked. Data overnight showed China's manufacturing activity contracting for a fifth straight month in August. And while the pace of declines moderated, the services sector lost a little bit of momentum. To give us perspective on that, we are joined, of course, by our market analyst to give us a little bit more detail in terms of the market drivers so far, and that is Patrice Rousseau, who is the Chief Investment Officer at Ashburton. Patrice, you may have heard that interview with the CEO of Santam. However, let's focus in on Impala Platinum that cut its dividend by almost 63%. What were the highlights for you when you looked at those figures?
Yeah, so good afternoon, Natasha. The Impala numbers were telegraphed. They had guided down 39%. Those came out with 2%. I think the big factor that the PGM basket is down some 60% year to date. So heavy pressure on rhodium and palladium. So it's more question of price coming down, but we think that going forward, the basket price having bottomed, I think the outlook is probably better for Impala and most of the platinum market.
So it's August 31st. Let's look back at the month of August from a market's perspective. How would you characterize it?
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned already, I think especially our markets and even global markets, I think China has been the big story of the month. We've seen a number of the property companies wobble. There's Evergrande and then Country Gardens, which reported results this morning. I mean, quite disappointing results in terms of losses, and there's a concern building that the property market in China might wobble faster than expected, because Country Gardens is 4 times the size as Evergrande. So China is a big story, and the Chinese story has weighed down on our resources stocks. So year to date, you've had financial industrial stocks on the JSE up maybe 16-17%, whereas resources are down 17-18%. And that's the Chinese story weighing down. And then the longer term story is inflation in the developed world.
With the latest U.S. economic data having been released, and we've got 2 more prints, the payrolls as well as CPI, what's your expectations for the Fed?
So the concern, I mean, it's a very good question. The concern is that CPI might start to tick up from quite low levels, but I think the key remains where core CPI goes. Core CPI is trending downwards. We expect it to trend towards the 4% mark, which is still above the 2% that the Fed is targeting. I think that's a key number. And then you mentioned also in terms of payrolls, I think job openings in the US will come under pressure, which will show that the economy is slowing, which markets might see as positive, oddly enough, because there's concerns that the Fed might hike interest rates too aggressively otherwise.
Just quickly, before I let you go, are parts of the market where you are seeing opportunity?
Yeah, I think the interesting part still remains in South Africa. You look at the banking sector, I mean, with some good numbers reported, resources starting to look very interesting. As mentioned, they have really been beaten up because of the Chinese story. That's where we're starting to see value emerging.
All right, Patrice, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is Patrice Rousseau, who's the Chief Investment Officer at Ashburton Investments.